My stepson insulted me in front of my wife and family. And when I confronted him, my wife snapped, "He's not your son. Don't correct him." I just smiled. The next morning, I canceled his university payments, credit card, and car insurance. Not my son, not my problem. I'm going to tell you about the night I stopped being a father. Not because I wanted to, not because I planned it, but because my wife, the woman I'd loved for 12 years, the woman I'd built a life with, looked me in the eye and told me I wasn't allowed to be one anymore. And if you've ever poured everything you have into someone else's child, if you've ever loved a kid who wasn't yours by blood but became yours by choice, you'll understand what I'm about to say. And if you've ever had that love thrown back in your face like it meant nothing, like those years were just nothing, then you already know how this story ends. But let me start at the beginning, or rather, it's at the end of the beginning. It was a Saturday in October, one of those perfect autumn evenings where the air smells like wood smoke and the leaves are just starting to turn that deep, impossible gold. My wife Jessica and I were hosting dinner, something we did maybe once a month, usually for her side of the family. Her mother Patricia, her sister Diane, Diane's husband Marcus, and of course, Tyler. Tyler, my stepson. 18 years old, freshman at Northwestern, studying business. And the reason I'm telling you this story, I met Jessica when Tyler was 6, a bright-eyed kid with a gap-toothed smile and an obsession with dinosaurs. His biological father had left when he was 3, just walked out one day and never came back. No calls, no birthday cards, nothing. Jessica was working 2 jobs trying to keep them afloat. And when we met at a charity fundraiser where I was speaking about my company's expansion, I saw something in her eyes that I recognized. Exhaustion, determination, pride that wouldn't let her ask for help even when she desperately needed it. I fell in love with both of them. I'm not going to pretend I was some kind of saint. I wasn't trying to rescue anyone, but I had the means to make their lives easier, and I wanted to. More than that, I wanted to be part of their lives. Tyler needed a father figure. I didn't know what I needed, honestly. Purpose, maybe. I'd spent 15 years building a logistics software company from the ground up. And by the time I was 37, I had more money than I knew what to do with and a penthouse apartment that echoed with emptiness. We got married when Tyler was 8. I adopted him legally when he was 9, or tried to. His biological father had to be tracked down to sign away his parental rights. And even then, he did it with a lawyer present and wouldn't look at Tyler, wouldn't even say goodbye to the kid. I remember Tyler asking me in the parking lot afterward, "Why doesn't he want to be my dad?" And I remember kneeling down on that hot asphalt, ruining a $2,000 suit and saying, "I don't know, buddy, but I want to be your dad. If that's okay with you?" He'd hugged me so tight I could barely breathe. The adoption never went through. Technical issues with the original custody agreement, something about jurisdiction and timing. Our lawyer said we could push it, but it would take years and potentially get ugly. Jessica said it didn't matter. Tyler was mine in every way that counted. So I let it go. I figured she was right. Blood doesn't make a family, love does, commitment does. I put Tyler through private school, paid for SAT tutors, tennis lessons, that summer trip to Japan he wanted so badly. Taught him how to drive, how to tie a tie, how to ask someone on a date without sounding like an idiot. I was there for every parent-teacher conference, every soccer game, every late-night panic about college applications. I opened a college fund when he was 9 and contributed to it religiously. By the time he graduated high school, there was enough there for 4 years at any school he wanted, plus grad school if he chose it. I loved that kid like he was my own blood, and for 12 years, I thought he loved me back. But that Saturday in October, sitting around our dining room table with our family, I learned exactly how much I'd been fooling myself. Dinner had been going well. Too well, maybe. I should have known. I'd made my mother's lasagna recipe, the one with the bechamel sauce, that takes 3 hours and uses more butter than any cardiologist would approve of. Jessica had been distant lately, stressed about her mother's health and some issues at her own job, but she'd smiled when she tasted it and squeezed my hand. Patricia, her mother, had complimented the wine pairing. Even Diane, who usually found something to criticize, had been pleasant. Tyler had come home from Northwestern for the weekend. He'd been different since starting college, more confident, more independent. I'd expected that. What I hadn't expected was the edge, the subtle condescension that had crept into how he spoke to me, the way he'd started referring to me as mom's husband when talking to his friends, as if I hadn't been raising him for more than half his life. Jessica said it was normal. He's finding himself, she'd explained one night when I mentioned it. Teenagers push back against their parents. It's developmental, but I wasn't his parent, apparently. Not when it mattered. We were halfway through dessert, tiramisu from that Italian place Jessica loved, when it happened. Tyler was telling everyone about his economics professor, some hotshot who'd worked at Goldman Sachs before teaching. He was explaining market efficiency theory, Tyler said, gesturing with his espresso cup. And this one guy in my class challenged him, said the professor was making assumptions that didn't account for information asymmetry. And what did the professor say? Marcus asked, leaning forward. Tyler smirked. He absolutely destroyed this guy. Pointed out that he clearly hadn't done the reading, didn't understand the foundational concepts, and was basically arguing from ignorance. It was brutal. Everyone in the lecture hall was dying. I smiled. Sounds like the kid learned a lesson about preparation. Tyler's eyes flicked to me. Something cold passed through them. Yeah, well, some people need to be put in their place when they're out of their depth. There was a pause, a tiny hesitation around the table. Speaking of being out of your depth, I said lightly, trying to steer the conversation, how's your accounting class going? Last time we talked, you said the problem sets were challenging. They're fine, Tyler said flatly. I'm managing. Do you need any help? I offered. I worked with our company's CFO enough to... I don't need help with accounting from someone who built his wealth on logistics software. Tyler interrupted, his voice sharp. No offense, but tracking trucks and managing supply chains isn't exactly high finance. The table went silent. I felt it like a slap. Not the content. Tyler had always been a bit pretentious about academic hierarchons and theoretical versus practical knowledge. But the tone, the dismissiveness, the casual cruelty of it. Tyler, Jessica said, but her voice was soft, almost apologetic. Not to me, to him, like she was sorry for having to correct him. It's fine, I said, keeping my voice even. But Tyler, that was disrespectful. I was offering to help because I care about your success, not to prove anything about my own knowledge. Tyler set down his coffee cup. Disrespectful? I was just being honest. You're sensitive because you're not actually educated in finance or economics, and you don't like being reminded of it. Tyler, that's enough, I said, and now there was steel in my voice. I don't care if you think I'm not educated enough for you. I care that you're speaking to me like I'm beneath you when I've done nothing but support you. Support me? Tyler laughed, and it was ugly. You mean pay for things? Yeah, you've been great at that. Writing checks doesn't make you... Doesn't make me what? I asked quietly. Tyler leaned back in his chair, and his next words came out with the carefully practiced cruelty of someone who's been thinking them for a while. Doesn't make you my father. The room froze. I felt something crack inside my chest. Not break, not yet. Just crack like ice under pressure. Tyler, apologize, I said. My voice was calm, too calm. The kind of calm that comes before storms. Why should I? Tyler shot back. It's true, you married my mom. You pay for stuff. But you're not my dad. You never adopted me. My mom never even took your last name. You're just the guy who's here. Tyler! Jessica's voice finally had some force in it, but not enough, not nearly enough. I turned to her. Jessica, tell him to apologize. She looked at me, and in her eyes I saw something that made the crack in my chest widen. Guilt, discomfort, but also something else. Something that looked horribly like agreement. David, she said softly, maybe we should just let it go. He's young. He's stressed. Let it go? I stared at her. Jessica, he just told me I'm not his father. After 12 years, after everything I stopped myself, took a breath. He needs to apologize. For what? Tyler interjected. Telling the truth? You're not my father. I mean, legally you're not. You never actually adopted me. Mom kept her name, I kept my name, we're not actually related. Tyler, that's not fair, Diane said quietly. But no one else spoke up. Patricia looked uncomfortable. Marcus studied his plate. I looked at Jessica again, waiting for her to say something, anything, to tell Tyler that family isn't just about blood or legal documents, to defend the 12 years I'd spent being his father in every way that mattered. Instead, she said the words that changed everything. David, he's not wrong. Her voice was quiet, apologetic but firm. He's not your son. Not legally. You can't, you can't correct him like you're his father. The crack became a chasm. I sat very still. If you've ever had your entire reality rewritten in a single sentence, you know what I'm describing. That moment where the past reorganizes itself, where 1,000 small things suddenly make horrible sense. The times she'd introduced me as her husband instead of Tyler's father. The way she'd always deferred to her mother on parenting decisions. The way, now that I thought about it, she'd been slowly, incrementally establishing distance between Tyler's life and mine. I see, I said, and I smiled. Not a warm smile, not a friendly smile. The smile of a man who's just realized he's been playing a game where no one told him the rules changed. David, Jessica started. I held up a hand. No, no, you're absolutely right. He's not my son. Legally, biologically, apparently, in any way that matters to either of you. I stood up, carefully folding my napkin and placing it beside my plate. I apologize for overstepping. David, don't be dramatic, Jessica said, and I heard the edge of irritation in her voice. The same edge she used when I was being difficult about her mother's unsolicited advice or Tyler's increasingly expensive requests. I'm not being dramatic, I said evenly. I'm accepting reality. Tyler's your son, not mine. I understand that now. Tyler looked uncomfortable for the first time, like he'd expected more of a fight. Look, I didn't mean… No, you meant exactly what you said. I looked at him directly. And you're right, I'm not your father. I'm just the man who's been paying for your life. That's not fair, Jessica said, standing up now. David, you're twisting what I said. Am I? I asked. You just told me I can't correct him because he's not my son, which means all those years of raising him apparently don't count. So let me ask you something, Jessica. I turned to face her fully. If he's not my son, why am I paying for his university? Why is his credit card linked to my account? Why is his car insurance under my policy? Why is the college fund I've been contributing to for 9 years still in my name? Her face went pale. David, that's different. Is it? I asked softly. Because from where I'm standing, it sounds like I'm good enough to be his father when it comes to money, but not good enough to be his father when it comes to respect. You're being unfair, Patricia interjected. The boy spoke out of turn, but you're taking this too far. I looked at Jessica's mother, the woman who'd always been polite to me, but never warm, who'd never quite forgiven me for not having the pedigree she'd wanted for her daughter. You're right, I said. I'm taking it too far. I should have seen this more clearly years ago. I looked at Tyler one more time. Congratulations on your economics class. I hope your professor's lessons about the information asymmetry sink in, because you're about to learn a very expensive lesson about assumptions. I walked out of the dining room, grabbed my keys, and left. Behind me, I heard Jessica calling my name, but her voice sounded very far away. I drove for 2 hours that night. Just drove, windows down, letting the October cold sting my face. I thought about every moment of the last 12 years, every soccer game I'd attended, every homework session at the kitchen table, every time I'd been there when Tyler needed something, money, advice, a ride, someone to talk to about girls or college or his future. And I thought about the way Jessica had looked at me across that table. Not with love, not with gratitude, with irritation. Like I was being unreasonable for expecting basic respect after 12 years of devotion. By the time I got home, it was past midnight. Jessica was still up, sitting in the living room with a glass of wine. We need to talk, she said. No, I replied. We don't. I went upstairs, opened my laptop, and started going through financial accounts, bank statements, insurance policies, credit card accounts, the college fund. Tyler's accounts, all of them were either in my name or linked to my finances. Not my son, not my problem. The phrase kept echoing in my head. Tyler's words and Jessica's silent agreement. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I made a very careful list of everything that was about to change. By sunrise, I knew exactly what I was going to do. Sunday morning came with that brutal clarity that follows a sleepless night. The kind where your eyes burn and your head aches, but your thoughts are crystalline, sharp as broken glass. I heard Jessica wake up around 7. Her footsteps in the hallway, hesitant, then the soft knock on the guest room door where I'd spent the night. David, her voice was small. Can we talk? Come in, I said. I was already dressed, sitting at the desk with my laptop open, documents spread around me. She opened the door, still in her robe, eyes red-rimmed. She'd been crying. Part of me, the part that had loved her for 13 years, wanted to comfort her. But that part was drowning under the weight of what she'd said, what she'd chosen. "I'm sorry," she said immediately. "Last night, I shouldn't have said that. I was just trying to de-escalate the situation, and it came out wrong." "Did it?" I asked, not looking up from the screen. "Come out wrong, I mean, because it seemed pretty clear to me." "David, please." She came into the room, sat on the edge of the bed. "Tyler was out of line. I should have backed you up more strongly. But you have to understand, he's 18. He's trying to assert his independence, and he said something hurtful in the moment. That doesn't erase everything you've done for him, doesn't it?" I finally looked at her. "Because from where I'm sitting, Jessica, it erases quite a lot. Tell me something, honestly. Do you see me as Tyler's father?" She hesitated. That hesitation told me everything. "I see you as his stepfather," she said carefully. "As someone who's been incredibly important in his life, who's been there for him in ways his biological father never was." "But David, you're not his father. That's just factual." "Factual," I repeated. The word tasted bitter. Is it factual that I've spent over $300,000 on his education, housing, and expenses over the last 10 years? Is it factual that I've been to every single school event since he was 8 years old? Is it factual that I'm the one who taught him to drive, who helped him with college applications, who sat up with him when he was worried about his future? Of course all of that is true, Jessica said, and now there was frustration in her voice. And I'm grateful for all of it. But David, you're conflating two things. You've been an amazing stepfather. That doesn't mean Tyler has to treat you exactly like a biological father. I stared at her. Did you just say he doesn't have to treat me like a father? I mean, she stopped, realizing how that sounded. I mean, there's a difference in the relationship. You know there is. There wasn't a difference when I was paying for things, I said quietly. There wasn't a difference when you needed someone to be there for him. But when it comes to respect, suddenly there's this massive distinction. You're being unfair, she said, and now her voice had an edge. Tyler said something shitty. He's 18 and stupid sometimes. But you're acting like this one comment negates everything, and that's not fair either. You're punishing him for being a teenager. I'm not punishing anyone, I said. I'm accepting reality. You both made it very clear last night that Tyler is not my son, so I'm adjusting my behavior accordingly. Her eyes narrowed. What does that mean? I turned the laptop toward her. On the screen was my bank's account management page. It means that effective immediately, I'm removing Tyler from all financial support that comes from me. The color drained from her face. What? His university payments, I said, clicking through the pages. $68,000 a year. I've been covering it through the college fund I established. With supplements from my personal accounts. That stops now. David, you can't... His credit card, I continued. The one he uses for books, food, entertainment. It's linked to my account. I'm canceling it today. David, his car insurance, his phone bill, his apartment near campus. Like, I've been covering the rent difference between the dorm and the apartment he wanted. All of it, Jessica. All of it ends today. She stood up, her hands shaking. You can't do this. David, he's in the middle of his semester. He'll have to drop out. No, I said calmly. He won't. Because he has a mother who can support him. You have a good job, Jessica. You make decent money. You can take over his expenses. I can't afford Northwestern's tuition. Her voice was rising, panic setting in. David, you know I can't. I have my own expenses, my mother's medical bills, Your son, I finished. You have your son's expenses, not mine, not my responsibility. You made that very clear last night. That's not what I meant. She was crying now, anger and fear mixing in her voice. I meant legally, technically. But of course, he's your son in the ways that matter. Is he? I asked. Because it seems like the only way I matter is financially. I'm not allowed to discipline him, not allowed to correct him, not allowed to expect respect from him. But I'm supposed to keep writing checks? How does that work exactly? Because you love him, Jessica shouted. Because you've been his father for 12 years, and you don't just stop loving someone because they hurt your feelings. You're right, I said. I don't stop loving someone because they hurt my feelings. But I do stop supporting someone who doesn't see me as family. Tyler made it clear that I'm not his father. You supported that assertion, so I'm taking you both at your word. She was pacing now, hands in her hair. This is insane. David, you're being cruel. You're hurting him to get back at me. I'm not trying to hurt anyone, I said, and I meant it. My voice was calm, measured, empty. I'm simply recognizing the reality of our relationship. Tyler is not my son. You said so yourself. Therefore, I have no obligation to support him financially. If he were my son, I'd continue paying for everything, but he's not, so I won't. This is punishing him for something I said. No, I corrected. This is me accepting what you both said. If you think I'm wrong, Jessica, then tell me, is Tyler my son or not? She opened her mouth, closed it. The silence stretched between us like a chasm. I thought so, I said. David, please. She was begging now, all pretense of anger gone. Please don't do this. Yes, Tyler is legally my son, but you've been his father in every meaningful way. That's what I meant last night. You can't just abandon him over one fight. I'm not abandoning him, I said. He has a mother. He has a grandmother who's always been very involved in his life. He has an extended family who will support him. I'm simply stepping back from a role I was told I don't actually have. His college, there are loans, I said. There are scholarships. He's a bright kid. He can figure it out. Or you can take out a second mortgage. Or your mother can help. There are options, Jessica. They just don't include me anymore. She stared at me like she'd never seen me before. I don't know you right now. This isn't the man I married. Maybe not, I agreed. Maybe I'm the man who finally woke up. Tell me something, Jessica. If the situation were reversed, if I had a biological child and you'd been helping raise them for 12 years, and that child told you that you weren't their parent, would you keep paying for their life? She didn't answer. I didn't think so, I said. I spent the next hour on the phone. First, I called the bursar's office at Northwestern. I explained that I would be making one final payment, cover the remainder of the current semester, but that all future payments would cease. They transferred me to financial aid. I explained the situation again, carefully, without emotion. They noted it in Tyler's file, then I called the credit card company, canceled the card linked to my account that Tyler had been using. They asked if I wanted to transfer the balance. I said no. The balance was Tyler's responsibility now. Then the car insurance. Tyler's car, a 3-year-old Audi I'd bought him for his 16th birthday, was under my policy. I removed him. The representative asked if I wanted to help him set up his own policy. I said no. Then the phone bill. I downgraded the family plan to just Jessica and myself. Then the property management company for Tyler's apartment. I explained that I would fulfill the current month's rent, but my obligation ended there. They noted it. By the time I finished, it was almost noon. Jessica had disappeared somewhere in the house. I could hear her crying behind our bedroom door. My phone rang. Tyler, I answered. Yes? What the fuck did you do? His voice was shaking with fury. I just got an email from the bursar's office saying my tuition payments are stopping, and my credit card was declined. What the actual fuck, David? I did what you asked me to do, I said calmly. I stopped acting like your father. Are you fucking serious right now? You're cutting me off because I hurt your feelings? No, I said. I'm cutting you off because you're not my son. You made that very clear last night, as did your mother. So I'm simply adjusting my financial responsibilities to match the actual relationship we have. This is insane. Tyler's voice was rising. You can't just cut off my tuition in the middle of the semester. I can and I did, I said. I've paid for the rest of this semester, but that's it. Going forward, your mother can handle your expenses, or you can take out loans, or you can work. You're 18, Tyler. You're an adult. Figure it out. My mom can't afford Northwestern. That sounds like a problem between you and your mother. You're doing this to punish me, he shouted, because I said one thing in anger. Did you say it in anger? I asked. Or did you say what you've been thinking for a while? Because it didn't sound like anger to me, Tyler. It sounded like contempt. It sounded like you've been looking down on me for a while now. And last night you finally felt comfortable saying it out loud. Silence on the other end. That's what I thought, I said. For the record, I don't hate you. I'm not trying to ruin your life, but I'm done being treated like an ATM by someone who doesn't respect me. You want to be independent? This is independence. Congratulations. You're a fucking asshole, Tyler said, his voice breaking. After everything my mom did for you, after she loved you, this is how you repay her. I almost laughed. After everything she did for me. Tyler, Do you have any idea what your lives were like before I came along? Your mother was working 2 jobs. You were in a shitty apartment in a bad school district. I didn't marry Jessica because I needed something from her. I married her because I loved her and wanted to help her build a better life. And I loved you like you were my own son. But apparently, that was never enough for either of you. That's not fair. Fair! Now there was heat in my voice. You want to talk about fair? Is it fair that I spent 12 years raising you and you throw it in my face? Is it fair that your mother tells me I'm not allowed to act like your father, but I'm supposed to keep bankrolling your life? You don't get to have it both ways, Tyler. Either I'm your father, with all the rights and responsibilities that entails, or I'm not. You chose. I'm just accepting your choice. I was wrong. He was crying now. Okay, I was wrong. I shouldn't have said that. I'm sorry. Are you sorry? I asked quietly. Or are you sorry that there are consequences? Both. His voice was desperate. Both, okay? I was an asshole last night. I know I was. But David, you can't destroy my life over this. I'm not destroying your life, I said. I'm just not funding it anymore. There's a difference. Please, he begged. Please, I'll apologize. I'll do whatever you want. Just don't do this. Please. I closed my eyes, took a breath. Tyler, do you know what the hardest part of all this is? It's not the disrespect. It's not even what you said. It's that when your mother had the chance to defend me, to tell you that family isn't about blood or legal documents, she didn't. She agreed with you. She told me I wasn't your father and I couldn't correct you. That's what broke me. Not your words, hers. She didn't mean it like that. Yes, she did, I said. And deep down, you know she did. You've both been seeing me as the guy who pays for things, not his family. And I'm done with that role. I'm sorry, Tyler, I really am. But I can't keep doing this. My whole life is falling apart, he whispered. No, I said gently. Your life is just changing. You'll adapt. You're smart and capable. You'll figure it out. But you'll figure it out without me. I hung up. My hands were shaking. I sat down on the guest room bed and put my head in my hands. I'd just blown up everything. 12 years gone. A family destroyed. And the worst part? I knew I was right. I knew that I couldn't keep living in a relationship where I was valued only for my wallet. But knowing you're right doesn't make it hurt less. Jessica appeared in the doorway. Her face was blotchy from crying, but there was steel in her eyes now. You need to undo this, she said. Right now. Call them back. Reinstate everything. We'll all sit down and talk this through like adults, but you cannot destroy Tyler's future because you're angry. I'm not angry. I said, looking up at her. I'm done. There's a difference. Done? She laughed, but it was a bitter, broken sound. Done with what? Our marriage? Our family? Done being treated like I don't matter, I said. Done being told I'm not Tyler's father, but being expected to act like it when it comes to money. Done, Jessica. I'm just done. So that's it? Her voice was rising again. 12 years of marriage and you're throwing it all away over one argument? This wasn't one argument, I said, standing up to face her. This has been building for years. The way your mother treats me like hired help. The way Tyler's been increasingly dismissive. The way you defer to everyone else when it comes to decisions about him. I've felt it happening, Jessica. I just didn't want to see it. Last night, you made me see it. Because I tried to de-escalate a situation. No, I cut her off. Because you told me the truth. You don't see me as Tyler's father. You never really did. I was convenient. I had money and stability, and I was willing to help. But when it came down to it, when you had to choose between defending me and protecting Tyler from consequences, you chose him, as his mother should. But you can't have it both ways. Either I'm family or I'm a checkbook. Choose. She stared at me. I can't believe you're making me choose. I'm not making you choose, I said. I'm asking you to be honest about the choice you already made. We stood there in silence. This woman I'd loved, this life I'd built, all of it crumbling between us like sand. Finally, she spoke, her voice hollow. What do you want me to say, David? Why, that you're Tyler's father? Fine, you're his father. You're the man who raised him. Does that make you feel better? Does that fix this? It would have, I said quietly. Yesterday it would have. Today, I don't know if anything can fix this. So we're done? She asked. Just like that? I don't know, I said honestly. I need time to think, time to figure out if this is something we can come back from. And Tyler? Her voice broke. While you're taking your time to think, what happens to him? He has a mother, I said. He'll be fine. She looked at me like I was a stranger. Maybe I was. Maybe we both were. I need you to leave, she said finally. I can't look at you right now. I nodded. I'll pack some things. Stay at the downtown apartment for a while. I had a small apartment near my office that I used sometimes when I worked late. It was barely furnished, more of a crash pad than a home, but it would do. As I packed a bag, I heard Jessica on the phone, her voice frantic, calling her mother probably, or Tyler, trying to figure out how to fix the financial disaster I'd just created. Part of me felt guilty, but a larger part felt something else. Relief. The downtown apartment was exactly as I'd left it 3 months ago. Sterile, impersonal, with furniture that came from a corporate catalog. Gray couch, glass coffee table, a bed with white sheets that felt hotel crisp. The refrigerator hummed emptily. The windows looked out over the city, and I stood there for a long time that Sunday evening watching lights come on in offices and apartments, watching lives continue while mine fractured. My phone wouldn't stop ringing. Jessica called 12 times in the first 2 hours. I didn't answer. Patricia called, then Diane, then Tyler again, then Jessica's sister's husband, Marcus, which surprised me. He'd always been friendly but distant. I let them all go to voicemail. Around 9 p.m., I finally listened to the messages. Patricia's was first. David, I don't know what's gotten into you, but this vindictive behavior is beneath you. Tyler's a child. You're punishing him for being young and foolish. I expect better from a man of your age and position. Call Jessica. Fix this. A child. Tyler was 18, legally an adult, but to Patricia he would always be a child. Funny how that worked. Old enough to tell me I wasn't his father, but too young to face the consequences. Diane's message was more diplomatic. David, I understand you're hurt. What Tyler said was wrong, but this seems like an extreme reaction. Can we all sit down and talk about this? Maybe family counseling? Please call me back. Family counseling? I almost laughed. You can't counsel someone into being family. Either they are or they aren't. Marcus's message was the shortest. Hey man, I get it. Probably more than anyone else in this family does. But for what it's worth, you should know Tyler's freaking out. Whatever you decide, maybe let him know either way so he can plan, okay? Tyler's second message was incoherent. Half apologies, half accusations, full of the desperate energy of someone watching their comfortable life collapse. David, please, I'm sorry. I didn't mean it. You have to believe me. I was being a dick. I know I was, but please, please don't do this. I can't afford. It cut off mid-sentence, like he'd run out of words or courage, or both. Jessica's most recent message was different from the others. Her voice was flat, drained of emotion. David, I understand you need space. I'm asking you to give me until Wednesday. Don't do anything else. Don't make any more changes. Just give me 3 days to figure out the financial situation and talk to Tyler. Then we'll discuss what happens next. Please. 3 days. It seemed both forever and not long enough. I called her back. She answered on the first ring. David. 3 days, I said. Then we talk. Face to face. But Jessica, I need you to understand this isn't negotiable. I'm not reversing the financial decisions. Whatever we discuss Wednesday, that's not on the table. Silence, then. Okay. Okay? What else can I say? Her voice cracked. You've made your choice. I'm just trying to prevent my son from having to drop out of school. He's your son, I said quietly, Mom. Not mine. That's what you told me. I know what I said. She sounded exhausted. Wednesday. We'll talk Wednesday. She hung up. I spent Monday in a haze. Couldn't work, couldn't think. I walked to my office, only 15 minutes from the apartment, and sat at my desk, staring at spreadsheets that meant nothing. My assistant Jennifer noticed immediately. Mr. Morrison, are you all right? You look like you haven't slept. Personal issues. I said, I'll be fine, but I wasn't fine. I kept replaying Saturday night, Tyler's smirk, Jessica's words, the way the entire table had gone silent, everyone uncomfortable, but no one willing to defend me. I'd given 12 years to that family, and in one evening I'd learned exactly how little that meant. My phone buzzed. A text from a number I didn't recognize. This is Marcus. Can we grab coffee? No pressure, no lectures, just thought you might want to talk to someone who gets it. I stared at the message. Marcus was Diane's husband. Married into the family same as me, though they'd been together longer, 15 years. He was a patent attorney, quiet and thoughtful, someone who mostly observed family gatherings rather than dominating them. When? I texted back. Now, if you're free, I'm downtown. 30 minutes later, we sat in a coffee shop 3 blocks from my office. Marcus looked tired, his tie loosened, graying hair ruffled like he'd been running his hands through it. Diane's furious with me for meeting you, he said, stirring sugar into his coffee, and says I'm enabling your cruelty. But I told her someone needs to talk to you man to man, and it sure as hell isn't going to be Patricia. Appreciate you coming, I said. He nodded. I'm not here to tell you you're wrong. I'm not here to convince you to change your mind. I'm just here to give you some perspective from someone who's been in the family long enough to see the dynamics. Okay. He leaned back, studied me. How much do you know about Diane's first marriage? I blinked. What? Diane's first marriage, he repeated. Before me. She was married for 18 months to a guy named Brett when she was 23. He had a kid from a previous relationship. Diane tried to bond with the kid, spent time and money, really threw herself into the stepmom role. Brett's ex-wife was a nightmare. Alienated the kid against Diane, told the kid that Diane was trying to replace her mom. Brett never stood up for Diane, never set boundaries. And when the kid, who was maybe 7 at the time, told Diane she wasn't her real mom and to stop pretending, you know what Brett said? I shook my head. He told Diane that she needed to accept that some boundaries would always exist, that she wasn't the kid's mother and needed to stop trying to be. Diane was devastated. She'd been paying for the kids' dance classes, helping with homework, showing up to recitals, and Brett just dismissed all of it. What happened? I asked. She left him 3 months later, Marcus said. Told me years later that it wasn't even the kid's comment that broke her. It was Brett's response. The way he made her feel like her love and effort didn't matter because she wasn't the biological parent. The parallel was so obvious it hurt. Why are you telling me this? Because I want you to understand that Diane knows exactly what you're feeling right now. She lived it. And despite that, or maybe because of it, she's still siding with Jessica. I felt something cold settle in my chest. Because she's family. Because she's blood, Marcus corrected gently. And that's what I need you to understand, David. In this family, blood matters more than anything else. It always has. Patricia raised her daughters to believe that family, meaning biological family, comes first. Always. Above partners, above fairness, above basic decency sometimes. Jessica absorbed that. Diane absorbed that. And Tyler learned it by osmosis. So I never had a chance, I said quietly. I'm not saying that, Marcus said. I'm saying you were always going to be fighting uphill. Diane and I don't have kids, so I've never dealt with what you're dealing with. But I've watched how the family operates, and I've seen Patricia undermine me and you countless times. Seen how our opinions matter less than anyone with the family bloodline. It's not malicious, it's just how they're wired. That's supposed to make me feel better? No, he said. It's supposed to help you understand that this wasn't about you failing. This was always the dynamic. You could have been the perfect stepfather. Hell, you basically were. And it still would have ended up here eventually. Because to them, you're not Tyler's father. You never were. You were the man who helped Jessica raise her son. I drank my coffee. It had gone cold. Do you think I'm wrong for cutting him off? Marcus was quiet for a long moment. I think you're human. I think you got hurt badly, and you reacted. Is it the kindest thing you could have done? No. Is it understandable? Absolutely. Tyler's 18, David. He's legally an adult. He made an adult choice to disrespect you, and Jessica made an adult choice not to defend you. You're treating them like adults. I'm not sure that's wrong. But, Marcus continued, you need to be really clear with yourself about what you want. Are you doing this to teach Tyler a lesson? Because if so, be prepared for him to learn the wrong lesson. He might learn that money equals love, and withdrawing money means you never loved him at all. He might learn that relationships are transactional, that when someone hurts you, you destroy their stability in return. Or he might learn that respect matters, I said. That you can't treat people like ATMs and expect them to keep funding your life. Maybe, Marcus acknowledged, but that's a hard lesson at 18, especially when he's about to lose everything he's built. His education, his housing, his security, all of it's tied to you. You know that, right? Jessica can't afford Northwestern. Her salary won't cover it. And Tyler's too far into the semester to get financial aid or scholarships in place, so he'll have to drop out. Come home. Probably go to community college, work part-time. figure out a different path. His entire future just changed. Because of his choices, I said. Because of a comment he made at dinner, Marcus countered. Look, I'm not saying he was right, but there's a proportionality question here. Does the punishment fit the crime? I met his eyes. If someone tells you that you're not their parent after you've spent 12 years raising them, how are you supposed to respond? Just keep paying for their life and pretend it didn't happen? Marcus sighed. I don't know, man. I honestly don't. I'm just asking you to think about what you really wanted to achieve here. If it's revenge, okay, own that. But if it's supposed to be a teachable moment, make sure you're teaching what you think you're teaching. We sat in silence for a while. Jessica loves you, Marcus said finally. I know Saturday night didn't show it, but she does. She's programmed to protect Tyler above everything else. Patricia made sure that. It doesn't excuse what she said, but it might explain it. Does she love me more than she resents depending on me? I asked. Because I've started wondering about that. If I didn't have money, would she have married me? If I couldn't pay for Tyler's school, would she have stayed? That's not fair, Marcus said, isn't it? I stood up. Thanks for the coffee and for the perspective. I mean that. David, Marcus called as I headed for the door. Whatever you decide, and I mean this, don't let them guilt you into ignoring your own pain. You're allowed to hurt. You're allowed to set boundaries. Just make sure you can live with the consequences. I nodded and left. Tuesday was worse than Monday. Word had spread through Jessica's family and by extension to mutual friends. My phone filled with messages, some sympathetic, most critical. An old college friend, man, I heard what happened. Rough situation, but cutting off a kid's college? That's cold. A couple we used to have dinner with. We're thinking of you and Jessica. Hope you guys can work through this. Jessica's cousin, who I'd met twice. You should be ashamed of yourself. Tyler made a mistake. You're an adult. Act like one. I turned off my phone. Wednesday morning, I met Jessica at a neutral location, a conference room at my lawyer's office. She'd suggested a coffee shop, but I needed the formality, the reminder that this was serious. She arrived exactly on time, dressed professionally, her face carefully composed. But I could see the exhaustion in her eyes, the tightness around her mouth. We sat across from each other at the long table. My lawyer, Richard Chen, sat beside me. Jessica was alone. You brought a lawyer? She asked, and there was hurt in her voice. This is a legal and financial discussion, I said. Yes. She nodded slowly. Okay, then I'll be direct. Tyler's dropping out, I can't afford Northwestern, and we can't arrange alternative funding in the middle of the semester. He's coming home this weekend. He'll enroll at the community college in January and work part-time. His academic trajectory is destroyed because you threw a tantrum. I didn't throw a tantrum, I said quietly. I recognized reality. You punished a child, an 18-year-old adult, I corrected. For hurting your feelings, she continued as if I hadn't spoken. And you punished me for not immediately defending you the way you wanted. You've destroyed Tyler's future to prove a point. No, I said. Tyler's future isn't destroyed, it's different. He'll adapt. And I didn't punish him for hurting my feelings, Jessica. I stopped funding someone who doesn't see me as family. There's a difference. Semantics. She spat the word. You're hiding behind semantics because you know what you did was cruel. Was it cruel, I asked, or was it honest? Tell me, Jessica, if I continued paying for everything, what would that teach Tyler? That he can disrespect me and face no consequences? That I'm just a wallet he can access by tolerating me? What exactly would that teach him about relationships, about respect, about family? She looked at Richard. Can you talk sense into him? Richard cleared his throat. Mrs. Morrison, I'm here to represent David's legal interests, not to mediate your relationship. But I will say this, everything David has done is completely legal. Tyler's not his biological son, was never legally adopted, and David has no financial obligation to him. The payments David made were voluntary, and he's within his rights to stop them. I know they were voluntary. Jessica's composure was cracking. That's what made them meaningful. They weren't obligations, they were love, and now he's using that as a weapon. Is love supposed to be unconditional? I asked. Even when it's not reciprocated? Even when the person you love tells you you're not their family? He's 18, she shouted. 18-year-olds say stupid things. They don't mean them. Did he mean it? I asked quietly. You were there, Jessica. You heard how he said it. Did that sound like a momentary lapse, or did it sound like something he's been thinking for a while? She looked away. That's what I thought, I said. And more importantly, when he said it, you agreed with him. You told me I wasn't his father, and I couldn't correct him. So which is it? Am I his father or not? You're his stepfather, she said. You've been his stepfather for 12 years. That means something. It should, I agreed. But apparently it doesn't mean I get to act like a parent. It doesn't mean I get respect. It just means I get to pay for things. And I'm done with that arrangement. She pulled out a folder from her bag, slid it across the table. I did some calculations. Over the 12 years we've been together, you've spent approximately $450,000 on Tyler. School, clothes, activities, travel, the car, his college fund. That's not counting indirect expenses like the larger house we needed, the family vacations, all of it. $450,000. Okay, I said. I'm asking you to honor that investment, she said. You've already put in so much. 3 more years of college is maybe another $200,000. That's it. Then he's done, he's independent, and you'll never have to support him again. Please, David, don't throw away your investment now. I looked at the number on her paper. 450,000. $500,000 near enough. She'd calculated it. Turned 12 years of love into a spreadsheet. That's your argument? I asked. That I've already invested so much I should invest more? I'm asking you to see it through, she said. You've been his father for 12 years. I thought I was his stepfather. Don't do this, she pleaded. Don't twist my words, you know what I mean. I don't think I do, I said, because it seems like you're using father and stepfather interchangeably depending on what you need from me. When you want money, I'm his father. When I want respect, I'm just his stepfather. You can't have it both ways. Richard leaned forward. Mrs. Morrison, perhaps we should discuss the marital assets and separation of finances. Jessica's face went pale. Separation? David, are you leaving me? I hadn't been sure until that moment. But sitting there, looking at her, seeing the way she'd calculated my love into dollars, the way she was negotiating like this was a business transaction. I don't know, I said honestly. I don't know if we can come back from this. Because of Tyler? Her voice broke. You're leaving me because of my son? Because of how you see me? I corrected. Jessica, do you love me? Or do you love what I can provide? How can you ask me that? Tears were streaming down her face now. I've been with you for 13 years. I've built a life with you. You've benefited from me, I said. And there's nothing wrong with that. But when it came down to choosing between me and Tyler's feelings, you chose Tyler. When it came down to defending our relationship or protecting Tyler from consequences, you chose Tyler. Every time, you choose Tyler. And I understand that. He's your son. But where does that leave me? It leaves you as my husband, she said desperately. As my partner, as the man I love. Do you? I asked. Love me? Yes. Then why couldn't you tell Tyler that I'm his father? Why couldn't you defend me when he disrespected me? Why did you tell me I couldn't correct him? Because I was trying to keep the peace. At my expense, I finished. You were willing to sacrifice my dignity, my feelings, my place in the family, all to avoid conflict with Tyler. That's not love, Jessica. That's convenience. She stood up, pacing. This is insane. One bad night, and you're ready to throw away everything? It's not one bad night, I said. It's 12 years of slowly being pushed to the margins, of your mother dismissing my opinions, of Tyler growing more disrespectful as he got older, of you deferring to everyone else when it comes to family decisions. I've felt it happening, Jessica. Saturday night just made it impossible to ignore. So what do you want? She asked. Tell me what you want, and I'll do it. I want honesty, I said. I want to know if you see me as an equal partner in this marriage or as a provider. I want to know if Tyler actually respects me or if he's just been tolerating me for the benefits. And I want to know if you're capable of choosing me, even when it means difficult consequences for Tyler. That's not fair. Yes, it is, I said. It's completely fair. You're his mother. I respect that. But I'm supposed to be your husband, your partner. And partners defend each other. You didn't. Silence filled the room like smoke. Finally, Jessica spoke, her voice small. What happens now? Richard will draft a separation agreement, I said. We'll divide assets equitably. You'll keep the house, it's in both our names, but I'll sign it over to you. I'll move my things out by next week, We'll file for legal separation, and after the waiting period, we can decide about divorce. You've already decided, she said dully. You've already given up. No, I said. You decided on Saturday night. I'm just accepting it. She looked at me for a long moment, and I saw something break behind her eyes. I really did love you, she said. I know you don't believe that now, but I did, I do. I believe you loved what I gave you, I said. The security, the lifestyle, the help with Tyler, but I don't think you loved me. Not the way I needed to be loved. She grabbed her purse, the folder with her calculations. At the door, she turned back. Tyler's life is ruined because of you. I hope you can live with that. Tyler's life isn't ruined, I said quietly. It's just harder now. He'll survive. And maybe he'll learn something. He'll learn that love is conditional, she said. That when someone disappoints you, you abandon them. Great lesson, David. She left. Richard exhaled slowly. That was rough. Yeah. Are you sure about this? He asked. Because once we file, it gets complicated. Emotions get harder. If you want to reconcile, now is the time. I thought about it, really thought about it. 12 years of my life, a family I'd loved, a kid I'd raised. And I thought about sitting at that table, hearing Jessica tell me I wasn't Tyler's father, seeing everyone's uncomfortable faces, but no one defending me. I'm sure, I said. The next few weeks passed in a strange fog. I moved my essentials out of the house while Jessica was at work. Clothes, laptop, a few pieces of art I'd bought before we met. She didn't fight me on anything, which somehow made it worse. We communicated through lawyers, polite and cold. Tyler left Northwestern. Jessica posted on Facebook about how proud she was of him for choosing a new path and showing resilience in the face of adversity. Several people commented sympathetically. No one mentioned why he'd left. I threw myself into work. There was a new contract with a major retailer, some expansion opportunities in the Southeast. I stayed at the office until midnight most nights, not because I needed to, but because the alternative was the empty apartment and my thoughts. It was Marcus who broke through the haze. He texted me 3 weeks after the coffee shop conversation. Need to talk to you. Something you should know. Can I come by? He arrived at my apartment that evening with a bottle of scotch and a flash drive. I shouldn't be doing this, he said, pouring us both drinks. Diane will kill me if she finds out, but you deserve to know. Know what? He plugged the flash drive into my laptop. I do 8 security consulting on the side. Sometimes that means recovering data, investigating breaches, that kind of thing. Last year, Tyler asked me to look at his laptop. Said it was running slow, probably had malware. I cleaned it up, but I also saw something that stuck with me. Marcus, just look, he said, opening a folder. It was a series of screenshots, text messages mostly, between Tyler and his friends. The first one was from about 6 months ago. Tyler. God, my stepdad is so fucking annoying. Won't stop asking about my grades. Friend. Does he pay for school? Tyler. Yeah, but that doesn't mean he owns me. He's not my actual dad, man. Friend. Free ride, though? Tyler. True, just gotta put up with him for a few more years, then I'm done. I felt sick. Marcus scrolled to the next one. This one was from a year ago. Tyler. My mom's husband is being weird about money again. Says I need to learn to budget. Friend. That sucks, man. Tyler. Whatever. He'll cave. He always does. Mom makes sure of it. Friend. Your mom sounds cool. Tyler. She is. She knows how to handle him. Just gotta let him feel important, and he'll do whatever. The next screenshot was worse. From 2 years ago when Tyler was 16, Tyler. Sometimes I wonder what my life would be like if my mom hadn't married a rich guy. Friend. You'd be broke, lol. Tyler. True, I guess that's the only good thing about him. The money. Friend. Does he know you feel that way? Tyler. No way. I play the good son role. It's not that hard. Just show up to dinners, say thank you, act grateful. He eats that shit up. I closed the laptop. Couldn't look anymore. There's more, Marcus said quietly, but you get the idea. David, he's been using you for years. And Jessica, He hesitated. What about Jessica? He opened another folder. This one was a series of texts between Jessica and her mother, Patricia. They were recent, from just a few weeks before the Saturday night dinner. Jessica. David's been asking about Tyler's attitude again, says he's been disrespectful. Patricia. Is he being unreasonable? Jessica. I don't know, Mom. Tyler has been a bit sharp lately. But David's so sensitive about the father thing. Patricia. Tyler's your son. David needs to remember that. He married you, not Tyler. Jessica. I know, but David's done a lot for us. I feel guilty sometimes, Patricia. Guilty? Jessica, you gave that man a family. You gave him purpose. Don't ever feel guilty for accepting his help. That's what partners do, Jessica. Sometimes I wonder if he resents supporting Tyler, Patricia. If he does, that's his problem. Tyler is your son, your priority. Don't let David make you feel bad for protecting your boy. Jessica. You're right, I just hate the tension. Patricia. Then don't create any. Keep the peace. David will get over it. I felt something inside me die. Some last hope that maybe I'd been wrong. That maybe Jessica really did see me as family. Where did you get these? I asked. Jessica's laptop, Marcus admitted. She asked me to look at it last week, said it was acting up. I saw the messages. I wasn't looking for them, but once I saw them, he shrugged. I couldn't unsee them. Diane doesn't know you're here? God, no, he said. She'd divorce me herself. But David, you need to see this. You need to understand that this wasn't one bad night. This was years of them seeing you as a resource. Tyler learned it from Jessica, and Jessica learned it from Patricia. You were never family to them. You were a checkbook, I finished. Yeah. I sat there for a long time, the scotch burning in my throat. Part of me wished Marcus hadn't shown me, wished I could maintain some illusion that maybe Tyler had loved me, that maybe Jessica had truly seen me as a partner. But this was clarity, brutal, painful clarity. Thank you, I said finally, for showing me. I'm sorry. Marcus said, I really am. You deserve better than this. After he left, I sat alone in my apartment, staring at the screenshots on my laptop, reading them over and over, like if I read them enough times, they might change, might say something different. They didn't. Tyler had been using me for years, consciously, deliberately, cynically. And Jessica had been enabling it, with her mother's encouragement. The whole family had been in on it, really. Treating me like the help, the convenient wallet who could be manipulated with a little gratitude and the illusion of belonging. I thought about all those years, all those moments I'd treasured. Teaching Tyler to drive, helping him with college essays, being there when he was nervous about his first date. Every moment I'd thought we were building something real. And he'd been laughing about it with his friends, playing the good son role, putting up with me for the money. I felt rage, not the hot, explosive kind, the cold, calculating kind, the kind that makes decisions. I opened my laptop and started writing. I spent the entire weekend writing, not just for me, for Tyler, for Jessica, for everyone who'd asked me to reconsider, who'd called me cruel, who'd told me I was overreacting. By Sunday night, I had something I was satisfied with, a complete accounting. Not just of the money, though that was part of it, but of the years, the moments, the thousand small ways I'd been used and dismissed and taken for granted. Monday morning, I sent it. Not to Tyler or Jessica directly, to everyone, Trisha, Diane, and Marcus, with an apology to Marcus, who already knew. Jessica's extended family, the mutual friends who'd sent me judgmental messages. I even posted an edited version publicly on my social media, something I never did. The title was simple, The Cost of Being a Convenient Father. It started with the screenshots Marcus had given me. Tyler's messages, dated and time-stamped. The ones where he talked about playing the good son role for money. The ones where he called me annoying and said he couldn't wait to be done with me. The ones where he laughed about manipulating me. Then came Jessica's messages with Patricia. The ones where they discussed managing me, keeping me happy enough to keep paying, treating my feelings as inconvenient obstacles rather than valid concerns. Then came the accounting. Not the simple $450,000 Jessica had calculated. A complete breakdown. Private school tuition, ages 8 to 18, 212,000. SAT tutoring, academic support, 15,000. Athletic equipment, team fees, tennis lessons, $28,000. Show college prep, application assistance, $8,000. Summer programs, coding camp, Japan trip, Pincer 2,000 college fund principal contributions. 180,000 first year Northwestern before I stopped. 70,000 extra Audi purchased at 16. 40,000 car insurance, maintenance, gas allowance, $18,000 phone bills, 10 years, $12,000 clothing, electronics, entertainment. $55,000 estimated family vacations, upgraded accommodations, activities, 95,000 estimated medical, dental, premium insurance, braces, etc. Counting 8,000 miscellaneous, birthday gifts, graduation, etc. 30,000 estimated total, $851,000, nearly $1 million. I let that sink in. Then I continued. For 12 years, I believed I was building a family. I believed that love and commitment mattered more than biology. I believed that showing up day after day, year after year, made me a father in every way that counted. I was wrong. Not because biology matters more than love, but because love has to be mutual. And the truth, as evidenced by Tyler's own words, is that I was never family to him. I was a source of funding, a convenient resource to be managed, manipulated, and endured until he no longer needed me. When Tyler told me I wasn't his father at that family dinner, he wasn't being cruel in the moment. He was finally being honest about how he'd felt for years. And when my wife Jessica told me I couldn't correct him because he wasn't my son, she wasn't de-escalating a situation. She was revealing the truth about how she'd always seen me. I'm sharing this not for sympathy, but for clarity. Many of you have reached out to tell me I was cruel to cut off Tyler's funding, that I overreacted, that I'm punishing a child for being young and foolish. Let me be clear. Tyler isn't a child. He's 18 years old enough to understand the consequences of his words, old enough to have been deliberately manipulating me for years, as his own messages show. And I didn't punish him. I simply stopped pretending we had a relationship we never actually had. He has a mother who loves him and will support him. He has a grandmother who will help however she can. He has a family that has always seen him as their priority. What he doesn't have anymore is access to my money. Because I'm not his father, he made sure I understood that. To those who suggested I was being transactional, that I was proving love is conditional. You're right. Love is conditional. It's conditional on respect, on honesty, on treating the people who care for you like they matter. I spent 12 years giving unconditional love to someone who was conditionally tolerating me. That's not a relationship. That's exploitation. To Jessica, I loved you. I loved the family I thought we were building. But we were never building the same family. You were building a life where Tyler was the center and I was the support system. Where I was expected to provide without complaint, to accept disrespect without consequences, to pretend that financial support was equivalent to being valued. I'm done pretending. To Tyler, I hope community college treats you well. I hope you learn the value of the things you took for granted. I hope you eventually understand that relationships require more than just showing up and saying thank you. But mostly, I hope you learn that people aren't ATMs. We're not here to fund your life just because we're capable of doing so. To everyone else, I know this seems harsh. I know it seems like I'm airing private matters publicly, but given the number of people who felt entitled to judge me based on incomplete information, I thought you deserved the complete picture. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't expect understanding. But I do expect to be left alone from here on out. I'm not the villain in this story. I'm just a man who finally learned to recognize when he wasn't actually part of the story at all. David Morrison. I hit send at 6 a.m. Monday morning. By 8 a.m., my phone was exploding. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Jessica called 17 times in the first hour. I didn't answer. Then came the texts. How could you do this? You're destroying Tyler publicly. My mother is having a panic attack. Everyone is calling me. Answer your phone, David. You're a cruel, vindictive person, and I can't believe I ever loved you. Then Patricia, surprisingly, via email rather than phone. Mr. Morrison, what you've done is beyond reprehensible. To publicly humiliate a child, to expose private family matters, to weaponize screenshots that you obtained illegally, this is beneath contempt. I want you to know that you've destroyed any chance of reconciliation with Jessica. You've made it impossible for Tyler to hold his head up in this community. You've damaged relationships that took years to build. I hope you're satisfied with your revenge. I hope it was worth burning every bridge you ever had. Patricia Winters. I almost laughed at obtained illegally. Marcus had given them to me, and they were Tyler's own words. But facts didn't matter to Patricia. They never had. Diane's message was different. David, I understand you're hurt. I even understand why you cut off Tyler's funding. But this, publishing everything publicly, that's too far. You've humiliated my nephew. You've embarrassed my sister. You've made our family look terrible to everyone we know. Was that really necessary? You could have handled this privately. You chose to make it a spectacle. That speaks to your character more than anything Tyler said in a private text. I'm disappointed in you. Diane Marcus sent a single text. Shit, man. I didn't think you'd go public. You okay? But the messages I didn't expect came from other people. Dozens of them. People I barely knew or didn't know at all. I was in a similar situation with my stepkids. Thank you for putting into words what I couldn't. My ex-wife did the same thing to me, used me for money while her kids treated me like garbage. I'm sorry you went through this. As a teacher, I see this dynamic all the time. Step-parents aren't respected the way they should be. You did the right thing. I'm a family therapist, and I want you to know that your response, while painful, was emotionally healthy. You set boundaries. That's not cruel, that's necessary. My stepson is 14 and starting to act like Tyler did. Your post was a wake-up call. Thank you. The public response on social media was mixed, but surprisingly supportive. My post had been shared hundreds of times. Comments ranged from, "This man is petty and cruel," to "Finally someone says what we're all thinking about entitled kids and the parents who enable them." Someone started a Reddit thread about it. It went viral. Thousands of comments dissecting every aspect of the situation, debating step-parent rights, discussing family dynamics, sharing similar stories, and I became the stepdad who cut off the ungrateful stepson. A meme, a cautionary tale, a villain to some, a hero to others. My lawyer called Tuesday morning. David, I need to talk to you about the post. What about it? Jessica's attorney is saying she might pursue legal action. Defamation, possibly. Invasion of privacy. The screenshots could be problematic. They're Tyler's own words, I said. How is it defamation if it's true? Truth is a defense, yes, Richard said carefully. But there's still the question of whether you had the right to share private communications. And Jessica's attorney is arguing that you've damaged Tyler's reputation, which could affect his future job prospects, education opportunities, etc. So they want to threaten me into taking it down? They want to scare you, Richard said. Whether they'd actually file suit is another question. It would require them to litigate all of this in court, which means everything would become public record anyway. But I need you to be prepared for that possibility. Let them file, I said. I stand by everything I wrote. David, Richard, if they want to take me to court, fine. We'll present all the evidence. Every text, every conversation, every instance of me being used and dismissed. I'll happily make it all public record. He was quiet for a moment. Okay, I'll prepare accordingly. But think carefully about whether this is the hill you want to die on. It was. Jessica showed up at my apartment Thursday evening. I'd half expected her, so I wasn't surprised when the doorman called to ask if I wanted to allow her up. Sure, I said. She looked terrible. Dark circles under her eyes, hair pulled back messily, wearing sweatpants and one of my old sweatshirts. She looked like she'd been crying for days. Can I come in? She asked. I stepped aside. We sat in my living room, the same spot where Marcus had shown me the screenshots. The irony wasn't lost on me. You destroyed us, she said without preamble. Tyler can't show his face anywhere. My mother had to take blood pressure medication. Diane isn't speaking to me. Everyone at my office has seen the post. My boss called me in to ask if there were personal issues affecting my work. I'm sorry for the collateral damage, I said, but I'm not sorry for telling the truth. The truth? Her laugh was bitter. You took private conversations out of context and turned them into a weapon. Those texts were from years ago. Tyler was a kid. He was 16, 17, I interrupted. Old enough to know what he was saying, old enough to mean it. And my conversation with my mother, you made it sound like we were plotting against you. I was venting to my mother, David. That's what daughters do. You were discussing how to manage me, I said, how to keep me compliant, how to make sure I kept paying without complaint. That's not venting, Jessica. That's strategy. She stood up, paced. You want to know the truth? Fine, here's the truth. Truth. Yo, yes, I was grateful for your money. Yes, it made our lives easier. Tyler's life, especially. But that doesn't mean I didn't love you. That doesn't mean the last 12 years were fake. Weren't they? I asked. Because from where I'm sitting, I was playing a role in a script I never saw. The generous provider, the supportive stepfather, the man who should be grateful that you let him be part of your family. But the moment I stepped outside that role, the moment I had expectations of my own, it all fell apart. That's not fair. Stop saying that. I stood up too, suddenly angry. Stop telling me what's fair. You know what wasn't fair? 12 years of being treated like a second-class member of my own family. Being told I couldn't correct Tyler because he wasn't my son, while simultaneously being expected to fund his entire life. That wasn't fair, Jessica. What I did was just honest. You humiliated Tyler. Tyler humiliated himself. My voice was rising. With his own words, I didn't make him write those texts. I didn't make him talk about manipulating me, about putting up with me for money, about how he couldn't wait to be done with me. He did that. I just showed people who he really is. He's 18, she screamed. He's a kid. Kids say stupid things. You're 49 years old, David. You're supposed to be the adult here. I am being the adult, I said coldly. The adult who refuses to be used anymore. She collapsed onto the couch, crying. I can't believe this is happening, and I can't believe you hate us this much. I don't hate you, I said, and I was surprised to find it was true. I don't hate Tyler either, but I don't trust you. I don't respect you. And I can't be in a relationship with people I don't trust or respect. What about everything we built? She asked through tears. 12 years, David. 12 years of memories and moments, and I'll treasure those memories, I said quietly. The ones that were real. But I can't pretend anymore, Jessica. I can't pretend that you saw me as an equal. I can't pretend Tyler saw me as a father. And I can't keep funding people who don't value me beyond my bank account. Is that all you think this was about? Money? Wasn't it? I met her eyes. If I lost everything tomorrow, if my company failed and I had nothing, would you stay? She didn't answer. That's what I thought, I said. She stood up, wiped her eyes. I came here to ask you to take down the post, to try to salvage something, but I can see there's no point. You've already decided we're the villains. No, I said, I've decided I'm done being the hero in someone else's story. She left without saying goodbye. Spring came early that year. By April, the city was green again, cherry blossoms erupting along the walking paths, the river sparkling in the sunshine. I'd started running in the mornings, something I'd never had time for during the marriage, always too busy managing everyone else's schedules. The divorce was finalized in March. Jessica kept the house, as agreed. I kept most of the liquid assets and my retirement accounts. It was clean, clinical, the kind of divorce that happens when both parties just want it over. That Tyler never reached out. Not once. Jessica told her lawyer, who told my lawyer, that he'd enrolled in community college and was working part-time at a bookstore. She painted it as if he was doing well, proving he didn't need me. Maybe he was. Maybe he'd learned something. I doubted it, but stranger things had happened. Marcus and Diane divorced. He told me about it over another coffee in the same shop where we'd first met. She couldn't forgive me for showing you those screenshots, he said. Said I betrayed the family. I told her I couldn't be part of a family that operated like a criminal conspiracy. She said I had to choose. So I chose honesty. I'm sorry, I said. I never wanted... Don't, he cut me off. Best thing that ever happened to me. I should have left years ago. Just took your situation to show me what I was tolerating. Patricia never spoke to me again. Diane sent one final email telling me I destroyed 2 marriages and that she hoped I was happy. I didn't respond. But the strangest thing was the connection with people I'd never expected to hear from. My college roommate, someone I hadn't spoken to in 20 years, reached out after seeing the viral post. Man, I went through something similar with my ex-wife's daughter. I wish I'd had your courage to walk away when I did. A former employee, a woman who'd worked for my company 5 years ago, sent a message. My stepfather was like you. Tried so hard, gave everything, got treated like garbage by my mom and me. I was awful to him. Your post made me realize what an asshole I was. I called him yesterday. We talked for 3 hours. Thank you for that. People shared their own stories. The step-parent who paid for everything and got no respect. The parent who watched their new spouse undermine them constantly. The adult children who realized too late what they'd taken for granted. I became a symbol of something. I wasn't sure what exactly. Either the cautionary tale of a man who couldn't forgive, or the inspiration for people learning to set boundaries, maybe both. In May, I did something I'd been thinking about for months. I started a foundation, the Morrison Family Scholarship Fund. It was designed specifically for students in community colleges or transitioning from failed four-year programs. Kids who'd had their educational paths disrupted and needed help getting back on track. The irony wasn't lost on me. I wouldn't pay for Tyler's education directly, but I'd help dozens of kids in similar situations. People said I was being petty. Maybe I was, but it felt right. The first recipient was a young woman named Sarah who'd had to drop out of a private college when her parents divorced and could no longer afford tuition. She wrote me the most beautiful thank you letter, talking about how she'd thought her dreams were over, how this scholarship had given her hope. I cried reading it. Not sad tears, something else. Catharsis, maybe. Evidence that money could mean something when it was appreciated, when it was valued, when the person receiving it saw you as more than just a resource. I dated a little, nothing serious. A few women from professional circles, a colleague from a nonprofit board I served on. It was nice, but distant. I wasn't ready yet. Maybe wouldn't be for a long time. Some nights I still thought about Tyler. Wondered how he was doing. If he ever thought about me. If he understood, now that the comfortable life was gone, what he'd taken for granted. If he'd learned anything or if he'd just resented me more. I'd never know. And I was learning to be okay with that. One Saturday in late May, I was at a coffee shop working on my laptop. Old habits die hard. When someone approached my table. David Morrison? I looked up. A woman in her 30s, professional clothes, kind eyes. Yes? I'm Dr. Caroline Webb. I'm a family therapist. I've been following your story since it went public. I hope this isn't too forward, but I wanted to meet you. Okay, I said cautiously. She sat down across from me. I want you to know that you did the right thing, not just for you, for Tyler, too. That's not the consensus opinion, I said dryly. No, she agreed, but it's the professional one. I've worked with dozens of blended families over the years, and one of the most damaging dynamics is the one you described, the step-parent as provider, never as parent. It creates entitled children and resentful step-parents, and it usually ends exactly how yours did. So you're saying this was inevitable? I'm saying that without boundaries, yes, you were being used whether Jessica consciously realized it or not. Tyler was learning that manipulation works, that pretending to care is sufficient as long as the money flows. You cutting him off wasn't cruel. It was the first authentic interaction you'd had in years. He probably doesn't see it that way. Of course not, she said. He's 18 and lost his meal ticket. But in 10 years, 20, he might understand, or he might not. But that's not your responsibility anymore. Doesn't feel that way, I admitted. She smiled. It never does. But David, you love that boy. You gave him everything you could. And when you finally asked for something back, respect, basic human decency, you were told you weren't entitled to it. Walking away wasn't giving up on him. It was refusing to teach him that love means tolerating abuse. I didn't cry, but it was close. Thank you, I said. She stood up. There's a step-parent support group that meets in the city, monthly. If you're interested, I can send you the information. It's mostly people who are still in the thick of it, but some are like you, on the other side. It might help. I took her card. I never went to the group. Wasn't ready for that. But I kept the card. It arrived in September, just as the weather was turning cool again. Almost a year since the dinner that changed everything. The handwriting on the envelope. was familiar but unpracticed, like someone who rarely wrote by hand anymore. Tyler's. I stared at it for 20 minutes before opening it. David, I don't know if you'll read this. Mom said you probably won't, that you've moved on and don't want to hear from us. But I need to write it anyway. I'm not going to apologize for what I said at dinner. I mean, I am, but not first. Because I think you deserve to know the context first. And then you can decide if the apology means anything. I've been seeing a therapist since February. Mom insisted after I failed most of my first semester at community college. I was angry all the time, couldn't focus, kept getting into arguments with professors and classmates. The therapist said I was dealing with unprocessed emotions about the disruption in my family structure. That's how she put it. Like, you cutting me off was some kind of natural disaster, not a choice you made. But after a few months of sessions, I started understanding something. It wasn't just anger about losing the money. It was anger because I'd been lying to myself for years, and you made me face the truth. I didn't respect you. You know that. You saw the texts. But what I'm starting to understand is why. It wasn't because you weren't good enough or smart enough or whatever bullshit I told myself. It was because respecting you meant acknowledging how much I needed you. And I couldn't do that because my bio dad left, and some part of me decided that needing a father was weak, dangerous. If I admitted I needed you, really needed you, then losing you would destroy me like losing him did. So I kept you at a distance. Told myself you were just mom's husband, just the guy who paid for stuff. Because that way, if you left, it wouldn't hurt. Turns out I was an idiot. Because you did leave, and it destroyed me anyway. Just in a different way. My therapist made me do this exercise. She had me list every memory I have of you over the last 12 years. Just sit down and write them all out. Do you know what I realized? You were at every single important moment of my life. Every soccer game, even the ones at 6 a.m. on Saturdays. Every parent-teacher conference. You taught me to drive. You helped me write my college essays. You were there when I got my heart broken by Sophie Martinez in 10th grade, and you didn't make fun of me for crying. You bought me my first suit for the homecoming dance. You taught me how to tie a tie, how to shake hands properly, how to talk to adults without sounding like a dumbass. You were my father. In every way that actually matters, you were my father. And I treated you like you were nothing. The worst part is, I knew it. While I was doing it, while I was texting my friends about just putting up with you for a few more years. Part of me knew I was being a piece of shit, but I did it anyway, because it was easier than being vulnerable, easier than admitting I loved you. When you cut me off, I was furious. Told everyone you were vindictive, cruel, petty. Mom agreed with me. Grandma Patricia was ready to hire a lawyer. Everyone told me you were the villain. But then I started community college, started working at the bookstore, started paying for my own phone bill, my own car insurance, my own everything. And you know what? It sucks. It's hard. I'm tired all the time. I can't afford to go out with friends. I had to sell the Audi because I couldn't make the insurance payments on my own. I ride the bus now. I eat ramen more than I want to admit. And every single day, I think about how you did this for 12 years. Paid for everything, never complained, never held it over my head, just took care of me, because that's what fathers do. I didn't understand that until it was gone. My therapist says I'm processing loss, and that I might be idealizing you now the way I demonized you before. Maybe she's right, but I don't think so. I think I'm finally being honest. I miss you, not your money, though. I'd be lying if I said I didn't miss the security, but I miss you. I miss our Saturday morning breakfast at Frank's Diner. I miss the way you'd quiz me on vocab words while we drove places. I miss watching football with you and you explaining the plays, even though I never really cared about football and we both knew it. I miss feeling like someone was in my corner. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. I know what I said was unforgivable, and I know posting those screenshots publicly probably made you hate me even more. I don't blame you for any of it. But I want you to know that I understand now. You weren't being cruel when you cut me off. You were being honest. You were showing me what I'd actually been saying for years, just through your actions instead of words. I wasn't your son. I made sure you knew that. So you stopped acting like my father. That's fair. That's completely fair. And I'm sorry it took losing you to understand what I had. Mom and I don't really talk about you. It's this silent thing between us. She's angry at you for the public post, for humiliating us. But I think she's also angry at herself. She won't admit it, but I See her looking at your picture sometimes, the one from our trip to Lake Tahoe. She keeps it in her desk drawer. She thinks I don't know. I don't know what I'm asking for with this letter. I don't think I'm asking for anything, really. I just needed you to know that I get it now. I understand what you did, why you did it, and why I deserved it. You were a good father to me, the only real father I ever had. And I threw it away because I was too scared to admit how much I needed you. I'm sorry for what I said at dinner, for the texts, for treating you like an ATM for 12 years, for not seeing what I had until it was gone, for everything. I hope you're doing okay. I hope you found whatever it is you were looking for when you left. And I hope someday, maybe not now, but someday, you can forgive me. Even if you can't, I needed to tell you this. You deserve to know. Tyler. I read the letter 3 times. Then I put it down and stared out my window at the city lights. For a long time, I didn't know what I felt. Vindication, maybe, sadness, relief, anger, hope. It was all mixed together, this cocktail of emotions I couldn't name. He understood. Finally, he understood. But understanding doesn't erase 12 years of being used. Understanding doesn't rebuild trust that was systematically destroyed. Understanding is necessary for healing, but it's not sufficient. Did I forgive Tyler? I didn't know. Did I want to? I didn't know that either. I put the letter in my desk drawer. Maybe someday I'd respond. Maybe I wouldn't. But for now, it was enough to know that the lesson had landed. That somewhere in Chicago, a young man was learning what it meant to value people for more than what they could provide. That night, I slept better than I had in months. It's been 2 years since that October dinner. 25 months, if we're counting. I am, though I try not to. Tyler and I have an arrangement now. It's not a relationship, not exactly. More like a cautious détente. We email maybe once a month. Short messages, updating each other on our lives. He tells me about school. He transferred to a state university after getting his grades up at community college. I tell him about the foundation, which has helped 43 students now. He's majoring in education, wants to be a teacher, he says. Something about helping kids who don't have stable families. The irony isn't lost on either of us. We've met for coffee twice. Once last summer, once this past winter. Both times were awkward, stilted, full of long pauses and careful words. But they weren't hostile. That's something. He apologizes every time. I tell him he doesn't need to. He does it anyway. I think he needs to, so I let him. I don't give him money. He's never asked. I think that might be growth. I hope it is. Jessica and I are civil now. The anger has faded into something more like regret. We see each other occasionally at neutral events, a mutual friend's wedding, a charity gala. We make small talk. She's dating someone, she told me last time, a teacher from Tyler's old high school. He's nice, she said, and I believed her. She wasn't asking for my approval, just sharing. That felt like progress. Patricia passed away last year. Heart attack, sudden. I sent flowers. Went to the funeral, sat in the back. Jessica saw me there and nodded. Tyler looked at me across the room with something like gratitude. I left before the reception. I'm dating someone seriously now. Her name is Angela. She's a nurse, divorced, no kids. She knows my history. I told her everything on our third date, figuring if it was going to scare her off, better to know early. She listened to the whole story, then said, "So you have boundaries. Good, so do I. We've been together 16 months. It's different from what I had with Jessica. Simpler, more honest. We split bills, we make decisions together. When we disagree, we talk it through. She doesn't have kids for me to help raise, which is both a relief and a small sadness I'm still working through. The public post is still up. Every few months, someone discovers it, shares it, and I get a new wave of messages. Some grateful, some angry. I don't engage anymore. Said what I needed to say, don't need to defend it. The foundation is thriving. We gave out over $1 million in scholarships this year. Sarah, the first recipient, graduated last month. She invited me to the ceremony. I went. She introduced me to her parents, who thanked me with tears in their eyes. That felt better than anything had felt in a long time. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if that October dinner had gone differently. If Jessica had defended me. If Tyler had apologized immediately. If the family had chosen me over their comfortable dynamic. Would we still be together? Would Tyler and I have a real relationship? Would I be happy? I don't know. Maybe, probably not. The cracks were already there, had been there for years. That dinner just made them impossible to ignore. I don't regret what I did, not the financial cutoff, not the public post, not walking away. I regret that it had to happen, that 12 years of love and effort ended the way it did. But I don't regret standing up for myself, for finally recognizing my own worth. If you've ever been in a relationship where you felt taken for granted, where your contributions were expected but never valued, where you were loved for what you provided rather than who you were, I want you to know something. You don't owe anyone your continued sacrifice if they can't give you basic respect. You don't have to keep giving to people who only know how to take. You don't have to stay in a family, biological or chosen, that treats you like you don't matter. It's gonna hurt. God, it's gonna hurt. Walking away from people you love, people you've invested years into, people you desperately want to have a relationship with, that's agony. I know, I lived it. But the alternative is worse. The alternative is spending your life feeling small, feeling used, feeling like you don't matter in your own family. The alternative is teaching the people you love that it's okay to treat you poorly, that there are no consequences for disrespect, that love means you'll absorb whatever they dish out. That's not love. That's martyrdom. And martyrdom doesn't change anyone's behavior. It just makes you bitter and them entitled. Tyler learned something from what happened. It took losing everything I'd given him. But he learned. He learned to value people for more than their utility. He learned that respect is a requirement, not an optional bonus. He learned that actions have consequences, that words matter, that relationships require reciprocity. Would he have learned that if I just accepted his disrespect and kept paying for his life? I don't think so. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is let someone face the natural consequences of their choices. That doesn't make it easy. It doesn't make it painless, but it makes it right. I'm okay now. Not happy all the time, not without regrets, not perfectly healed. But okay. I wake up in the morning without that tight feeling in my chest, wondering if today's the day someone will take me for granted again. I have relationships that feel equal, where I'm valued for who I am rather than what I can provide. I have purpose that doesn't depend on anyone else's validation. I have my self-respect back. And if I had to do it all again, knowing how much it would hurt, knowing what I'd lose, I'd make the same choice. Because at the end of the day, the only relationship that matters more than all the others is the one you have with yourself. And I couldn't look myself in the mirror while being treated the way I was being treated. So I stopped. I walked away. I set the boundary that needed to be set. And I survived. You will too. Tyler sends me a message tonight as I'm finishing writing this. Just one line. Thank you for not giving up on me. Even when you gave up on us, somehow you still didn't give up on me. I stare at it for a long time. Maybe he's right. Maybe refusing to enable him, refusing to fund his disrespect, refusing to pretend we had a relationship we didn't. Maybe that was a form of not giving up, of caring enough to let him fall, knowing he might learn to fly. Or maybe it was just me protecting myself, taking care of my own wounds instead of bleeding for someone else. Maybe it was both. I don't respond tonight. Maybe tomorrow, maybe next week. That's the thing about boundaries. You get to decide when and how to engage. You get to protect your own emotional space. It's not cruel. It's not cold. It's just honest. And after 12 years of lying to myself about what I meant to that family, honesty feels like freedom. If you've ever felt the way I felt, invisible, taken for granted, valued only for what you could provide, please hear this. You matter. Not because of what you can do for other people, but because you exist. Because your feelings are valid. Because you deserve respect and reciprocity and to be valued for who you are. Don't wait 12 years to learn that like I did. Set the boundary. Have the hard conversation. Walk away if you need to. You'll survive, I promise. And on the other side of that pain, you might find something you didn't even know you were missing. Yourself.